The EFL automatic promotion race was done and dusted, tied in a bow at the start of the week. But the week in the Championship has ended with utter chaos, carnage, drama in the relegation battle. So we are going to focus this week's hot takes on the drama at the bottom and the fact that any one of 5 teams could still be relegated in round 46. Quick bit of housekeeping. Obviously, Leeds and Bristol City involved in Monday Night Football. So I will wait to speak to Sam Parkin on the Championship Check-In podcast because Leeds obviously are in the title race still and Bristol City are in the playoff race. So it would be remiss to talk about that, which means we can focus fully on the relegation battle. And I will allow you to focus fully on that. No slides this week, just that one. And I'm sure fans, particularly those teams, the higher you go in that graph, are going to be staring at that for the most part this week. Get in the comments if you support any of those teams. Let's start at the bottom where Cardiff City have been relegated from the EFL Championship. You can see there on the table, maximum upside for Cardiff now with 1 game to play is 47 points. The magic number there is 49. Look, the goal difference could have worked, couldn't it? If Cardiff had won today by 1 goal, they would be at Luton's minus 22, 3 points behind. And then if Luton lost, their goal difference would go down. If Cardiff won next week, their goal difference would go up. And whatever else happened, Cardiff would have 49 points, the same as Luton, and a better goal difference. In the reality we live in, that did not happen. Luton won. Cardiff drew 0-0 against West Brom. 36 shots in this game, no goals. And, there's a couple of things that are kind of revealing about these two teams. The fact that we're talking about loads of chances and no goals. That's why West Brom have missed the playoffs. They've been really hapless making chances and not taking them. And Cardiff in this run-in, particularly in home games, have had chances to win football matches and not been able to take them. It's also very revealing. And we'll probably do a deep dive later in the week on Cardiff and what's really gone wrong. But it's not a surprise that there's a Hail Mary in the managerial stakes there, and the dugout has got Aaron Ramsey in, and they've tried to change it at the last minute. It feels like Cardiff have had so many managers over the last few seasons, and Omar Reitzer to Aaron Ramsey, it was Errol Balut at the start of the season. We never like the look of 3 managers in one season, do we? And Cardiff are going to drop. Again, I'll try and do a deep dive later in the week. We will say not much more than that. But get in the comments, Cardiff fans, if you want to give me your opinions ahead of that video that will indeed be coming at some point. We might wait maybe for all 3, but we will talk in depth more about Cardiff's confirmed relegation. And Plymouth, I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? We had it with Huddersfield last season where you couldn't confirm them until the final whistle on the final game because of goal difference. But Plymouth, despite finishing the season really well, are going to be going down. Look, they are 14 goals off Luton and safety at the moment. And, you can say mathematically, yes, one team wins by 8 and one team loses by 7 or whatever, then happy days. But it ain't going to happen, especially when you factor in Plymouth's last game is against Leeds United, who should be playing for the title, you would think, on final day there. And look, fair play Plymouth. We're going to talk about Preston in a minute. It was Preston 1, Plymouth 2. And look, I never want to dive in on individuals, but there's going to be a lot of fingers pointed at Wayne Rooney here because first half of the season, which was Rooney's tenure, 18 points in 23 games, less than 1 point per game, worst team in the league. Second half of the season so far, which is 22 games, 28 points, 10th best team in the league. So there is an argument that if Plymouth had scored the points they have scored under Muslik in the second half of the season, for the whole season, they would be on like 56 already and would already be safe. They'd be up there with Watford in 13th. And Watford have been seen to have a very good season. So, look, is it that simple to just say Rooney was a terrible hire and making that change in the middle of the season? Too little, too late, all done. I don't know. You tell me. It's a difficult one with Plymouth because they were so heroic to get into the Championship with what they did in League One that it is a shame to see them going down. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is it that simple Wayne Rooney relegated Plymouth. Get your thoughts in the comments. They could still go on goal difference if they can win next week. As I say, they play Leeds. We're going to work our way up, so we will get to the Preston side of that equation in a minute. Hull. My God, Hull. I mean, wow. Hull 0, Derby 1, which turned in... I mean, it was already a mighty, mighty head-to-head. Obviously, Luton started the day below Hull. We'll get to Luton in a couple of minutes. But once Luton had won, spoiler alert, against Coventry, that Hull Derby game just became incredible, because look at it. It was 46 Derby, 48 Hull, 49 Luton. And obviously you can see Derby have made the leapfrog. We'll come to them. But Hull, I mean, my God, I wouldn't blame you if you're a Hull fan for having similar emotions to what the Birmingham fans were thinking last year of just totally wrong place, wrong time. And again, you can do the Wayne Rooney thing with Tim Volter at Hull. It just did not work for the first half of the season. Now, since the game before Christmas, which is just before halfway, Hull are 11th over those 24 games. So from game 21 to game 22 to game 45, Hull are the 11th best team in the division. But massively, and you can say unlucky Hull, wrong place, wrong time. Unfortunately for them, Portsmouth and Oxford are even higher in that list. They are 9th and 7th in the last 24 games. And to end the season, Derby and Luton have been piling the points on like no one's business. So if Hull go down, it's because they had a really bad first half of the season, and literally 4 or 5 other teams have really had far higher than average kind of high tide second halves of the season. I've got to admit, I thought when Ruben Sellis came in with that Hull squad, he was there in January as well. We saw some really good wins at Sheffield United and at Sunderland, who are up in obviously the top 4. I thought there is no way. I thought they would be safe by now. But this is the situation. And unfortunately for Hull, they've just been pretty good. Pretty good, as in 11th over the last 24 games. Turns out, like with Oxford and Portsmouth, you had to be 9th or a 7th place team to get away with this if you had the start that those teams did have. And obviously, Plymouth and Cardiff are the ones that have, kind of stayed bad down the bottom there. So Hull go into the final day in the bottom 3. But I mean, look at it, guys. Chasing 3 teams above them on 49 points, 1 point ahead, and they have got a better goal difference than 2 of them. Ergo, if they draw and those 2 teams lose, they're going to be safe, or either of those teams lose. We'll get to the permutations in a minute. We will get to that. Well, in fact, let's do Derby right now. And I'm saying this. If John Eustace, of course I'm saying it. The words are coming out of my mouth. But I'm saying this now. Ready for next week. If John Eustace keeps Derby in the Championship, combined with, Blackburn being up in 6th or 7th where he had them, I know Parker and Farker might be getting 100 points, but surely the real Championship manager of the season is going to be John Eustace. What a job! And I remember when he came in, I think they lost 4-0 at QPR, didn't they? Lost the first 3 games, in fact, and you're thinking, oh, has he just bitten off more than he can chew? But John Eustace is the master at going in and stabilising teams in utter chaos, isn't he? He's kind of like the Sam Allardyce character of the Championship. Look at what he did at Birmingham and where he left them. Look at what he did at Blackburn and where he left them. And look at what potentially Derby are about to do. Phillips with the headed goal on 84. By the way, if you're looking for some good limbs, look at that Derby end away at Hull. If you were in there, get in the comments. That looked like a fun goal celebration. Although at my age, probably didn't want to get knocked around in that. And I mean, my God. Going back to the whole point about wrong place, wrong time. In the last 10 games, Derby have scored 20 points. So Chris Wilder's been talking today about finishing on 92 points for Sheffield United. What an achievement 2 points per game is. Derby have done that for the last 10 games. Absolutely incredible. That means that under Eustace here, in that 10-game period, 40% of Derby's points this season have come in 22% of their games. Think about that. Obviously, 100% of your points come over 100% of your games. So 40% come in 22% of your games. You can see how well Derby have been performing. Great for clean sheets. Great for set plays. We've mentioned that with Oxford. Can you do that when you're down the bottom? It will get you away from trouble, particularly in the head-to-heads. This was a head-to-head. Set play, clean sheet, Bosch, win the game. Well done, Derby. They could still drop on the final day. We'll get to the permutations, but that feels massive today. Right, let's move back to Luton. And again, I haven't mentioned Luton as we've been talking about. Yeah, I think I did. I said Derby and Luton had crazy runs, but Luton are another one that Hull are going to be absolutely cursing, because right at, the clutch gut check time of the season, rounds 43, 44, 45, Luton, who've had a terrible season, have won 3 straight games. And this on the back of losing that 1-0 home game to Blackburn. Today they win against Coventry. Complete drama. And they're nearly at 2 points per game as well. 21 in 11. So just incredible high tide and teams surging from seemingly destined to be relegated, putting incredible runs together to end the season. Plymouth close as well. My God. We did it on the watch along today. So if you want to see my reactions, you can elsewhere on the channel. Obviously, red cards kind of colour in that game, really, with the one for Coventry on 13 minutes. And then you did think, when it went 10 versus 10 and Walsh got sent off for Luton, is this going to go the other way? But fair play, Matt Bloomfield. You think, leverage the Kenny, win tight games. Again, clean sheets up. But ugly goal, isn't it? Where Coventry keeper comes out, makes a mess of it. Baptiste puts the shot on target and Binks kind of falls over as he's trying to clear it when he should clear it. Luton fans will not care one iota. And Luton go into the final day out of the bottom 3. And they were miles behind at one point. And here we are. And we'll talk about the team that's dropping like a stone right now, which is Preston. And we've already mentioned Preston lost at home to Plymouth today. And something that Chris Wilder said was unforgivable to lose, to the bottom side. Sheffield United lost away. Preston have lost at home to Plymouth, and Plymouth have been dreadful away from home. So that is an awful defeat for Preston. And could they be, it becomes a bit of a cliche, doesn't it? And I think it's a bit of a myth. Everyone talks about someone dropping like a stone and getting relegated, or conversely, someone coming out of nowhere to get in the playoffs. I mean, hey, look, Millwall could do it this season, couldn't he? Up the other end, couldn't he? Couldn't they? In terms of Millwall. But Preston were 11 points clear after they beat Norwich 14 games ago. They were 11 points clear of safety. There has been a 10-point swing. They are 1 point clear of safety right now. In that run, that 14 games, they have scored 9 points. They've won once. They have been the worst team in the league over that 14 games. I mean, it wouldn't have taken much to be the worst team in the league, given we've had surges from the likes of Portsmouth and Oxford and Derby and Luton. And we've said even teams like Hull and Stoke have kind of been all right. And Plymouth have surged as well at the end of the season. But, my God, Preston, that would be... I thought back, I think it was almost Valentine's Day, wasn't it? They beat Norwich and you think, oh, okay, well done, Heckingbottom, they're safe. Did they get distracted by the FA Cup? Is that too easy to say? I don't know, but they could be relegated on the final day of the season. And again, look at that goal difference. If you get a Hull draw, a Luton draw, and a Preston defeat next week, Preston will go down. And we'll do the proper permutations, but this is not beyond the realms of possibility now. Anything could happen here on the final day. And that includes the top team in this list. Don't worry, we are going to talk about Oxford. Stoke City, again, we did them on the watch along. They lost 2-0 at home to Sheffield United. Could still drop. It would take the absolute worst case scenario for Stoke. They basically need all the results to go against them. Obviously, Derby winning and Stoke losing is one single game, because if you didn't know, they play each other in round 46. Juicy. Please, Sky Sports, pick that one. I'll certainly be picking that one, I think, for the watch-along. But if Hull, Luton and Derby all win, and Preston draw or win because of the goal difference there, Stoke would go down. Now, Birmingham fans will remind you of last season. Everybody won. the worst case scenario that could have happened for Birmingham. Other way round, because they were kind of the team, who thought if you win that last game, someone will mess up, you'll be out of it. This is the other way round, where Stoke are, up there at the top of that, looking that they need to lose to Derby and then all the other teams need to do their business. It could still happen. I said 8 games to go. I said I think Stoke will be safe because they'll leverage the first 4 games they did. Unfortunately for them, back-to-back defeats, as well as triple win for Luton and a double win for Derby, which has been very unhelpful. I thought they'd go into this Derby game already safe. They're not. So we will see. And look out for the potential of a draw in that game. We'll get to that as the permutations, because a draw does pretty much work for both sides. But look, let's get into that in a minute. What we must do is say congratulations, standing ovation to Oxford United, who are safe. They beat Sunderland 2-0 today to get to 52 points. And I mean, that's absolutely superb what Pompey and Oxford have done this season. Derby could be safe as well, and that could be all 3 of the League One promoted teams. But not only have they got themselves safe, this is a horrible season to get safe in, as we've said, with the rising tides, high points totals, and there's basically no mid-table in the Championship, is there now? You've got someone like Norwich and Watford, who are basically 6 and 8 points above relegation now. So there's just nothing there. It's all clustered up with the rising tide and the points being won at the bottom. But let's give Oxford some praise. Again, I'll say what I said about Derby. Can you keep a clean sheet? Can you win a home game? Are you good from set plays? You might well stay up. If you are, Gary Rowett has been absolutely brilliant since arriving at Oxford. But let me tell you, they are a bizarre team, because listen closely to this. This is how Jekyll and Hyde Oxford have been this season. Games 1 to 5, 7th. Fantastic, just outside the playoffs. Brilliant for a newly promoted team. Games 6 to 21, worst team in the league. Games 22 to 28, Rowett arrives. Best team in the league. Literally the best team in the league. Games 29 to 37, guess what? Worst team in the league. Games 38 to today, 8th. So they've flitted between being on the edges of the playoffs, and this is for not small sample sizes, the best team in the league, and then for big swaves, they've been the worst team in the league on quite big runs as well. We're talking like 8 games and, 16 games on one of them. But what Oxford have done brilliantly is they have made hay while the sun is shining. When they've been in games, they've won games because of that ability to win tight and keep clean sheets. They managed to make the most of the new manager bounce as well with Gary Rowett. Absolutely tremendous. And when they were on a good run, they didn't go on draws and fizzle out. They were literally a top 8 team, or the best team in the league when Rowett arrived. So well done, Oxford. Absolutely brilliant job. I look forward to covering you again on this channel next season. Right. Let's have a look at round 46 really, really quickly, and then I'll wrap this up, where 5 teams can go down. And remember, if Plymouth beat Leeds, we could still get a goal difference relegation for Plymouth. But let's talk about Hull first. And the thing people forget in these scrambles is if Hull lose, all bets are off. If we're all hyped up for the watch-along next Saturday, 12:30, and Pompey are 2-0 up against Hull in the first 10 minutes, it's done. It's all over, isn't it? You think nobody else has to do anything. Just get to the end of the game and hope that Hull lose, and everything stays as it is. That bottom 3 drops down. What is fascinating is that due to Derby versus Stoke, look at the goal difference. If Hull win, they are definitely safe, because Hull would go to 51 points. If you got a Stoke win, Hull would be above Derby. If you got a Derby win, Hull would be above Stoke. If you got a draw, Hull would be above both of them. So absolutely fascinating that. If Hull lose, they're definitely down. If they win, they're definitely safe. I can't remember having a permutation like that before. Absolutely fascinating stuff. West Brom versus Luton. So Luton have the luxury of being the more teams you're above, as we've said with Stoke already, the better. If Luton match Hull or better Preston, Derby or Stoke, they are safe. So a point might do it for Luton, being they only need to match Hull, basically. I think they need to win, though, don't they? You can't really rely on someone and losing on the final day of the season. They play West Brom away from home. So both Hull and Luton are away from home. So, Preston, God, I didn't realise all these teams are away, aren't they? Derby, the only team at home, in fact. Preston, again, more traffic below them. If they match Hull or Luton, they are safe. That's how Preston need to look at that. So they've got a little bit of wriggle room. But if they lose, Luton and Hull only need a point. Luton need the win, don't they? I'm looking at the goal difference now. But, for example, a Hull draw and a Preston defeat. And, we're on to goal difference there. And it's very, very, very tight. Derby versus Stoke is amazing, isn't it? Because the draw is okay. I know I said earlier if Hull win, they definitely survive because of Derby versus Stoke. But if you flip that round, if Derby and Stoke do draw, only one of Hull, Luton or Preston need to not win, and they are both safe. If you had a point onto both of them, 51 and 50, all it would take then, look at the goal difference, is one of Preston, Luton or Hull to draw. So, let's be very frank. I'm not suggesting any skullduggery with John Eustace or Mark Robbins, but if you are a gambling person, please gamble responsibly, 18 plus only, begambleaware.org. Go and get on the draw straight away, because if any of those teams are not winning with 30 minutes to go and that game is level, surely both managers are transmitting to their players that the draw is okay. Just do not lose this game. And you know what happens when both teams know that they just don't need to lose the game? Let's both go in that direction and not lose this game. So, yeah, again, conspiracy theories ahoy. None of them from me. But would you be surprised if it's Derby 1, Stoke 1, come what may, and they both survive next round? Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And this is coming from a fan of a team that's in the Premier League that are now going to be in the Championship, go figure. But Premier League's all done and dusted. None of this drama. Title race over. Relegation over. Championship absolutely golden. Brilliant. It's going to be carnage. Well, unless you support one of these teams. But God, do you remember the one in COVID we did? Who was it? It was Wycombe, Rotherham, Derby and Sheffield Wednesday. What an end to the season that was. They were all out of the bottom three, like in the last 40 minutes of the game. Incredible, incredible end to a season. There, I think matched only by Nottingham Forest collapsing and a 6-point swing over the last half of the season for Swansea to get in the playoffs. We get some chaos on the last day. Come and join me for a final day watch along. I'd imagine we'll be doing Derby versus Stoke, but we're going to be here, there and everywhere. We'll have a look and see what the playoff picture is as well. We will know more about that once Leeds have played Bristol City on Monday night, and indeed the title race. Apologies, especially if you're a Burnley fan. Your team won 5-0 today, and I'm not talking about them at all on the hot takes. I think you'll understand why. And by the way, there is a full video on Burnley and how they got promoted back to the Premier League already on the channel. So why don't I give that a little plug right now? Get in your comments on the relegation battle and come and join me and Sam Parkin. I'll be here for the watch along for Leeds Bristol City on Monday night as well. And we will be talking playoffs and relegation. And maybe I'll have a little bit of a chat about Wrexham and Birmingham joining the Championship on Monday. Thanks for watching. Over and out.